well, Ron asked me to come in and talk to you guys a little bit about like leadership and also, public speaking. And, just like as we started this off and it was like pretty chill and, informal, I really just want to keep this as like an open forum. Like, please feel free to like chime in, talk whenever you want, ask questions. Cause yeah, like I'm here to be as like a resource and a support for you guys. Like I've been in your positions, like just to give you a little background. I was class of 2015. I was a super senior, and I was RCDT coordinator. I was secretary, and I was president in RAPS. And then in D3, I was a D3 secretary, and then for FIND, I was a proxy, FIND national director, and also FIND national secretary. So I was like stupid active in student organizations in college. So like if you have any questions or anything, whether it's like in this workshop or like outside this workshop, please feel free to reach out to me. And yeah, and so I know we went around, we introduced each other a little bit first. I just want to get to know you guys, each other more. I know like, I don't think Chris, you got to introduce yourself. If you just want to introduce yourself, your major and your year. And then, yeah, if anyone wants to like share any other fun facts or like, I was going to say like, tell us like, what's the number one place you want to visit when you get out of the pandemic. But yeah, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm a sophomore in chemical engineering.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's the number one place you want to visit after the pandemic? If you have no restrictions.
Literally anywhere. Like just get out of the house,
I feel that. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so thanks guys for coming through again. Yeah, I feel like everyone else really introduced themselves. And I also know Andre also from the last workshop. But yeah, so I just wanted to like for this workshop, I know we're going to talk a little about public speaking, but I think a big part of public speaking is also comes from knowing your why and knowing your purpose. And there's other people joining. I'm let them introduce themselves. NG, turn your video on. No.
Wait. Here you go. My mic was off. Hello, everyone. In case you guys don't know me, my name is NG. I actually don't go to Rutgers. I go to NGIT.
Oh, cute. Yeah. Oh man, I love FSA, right?
It's now Finest now.
Oh, that's right. It
Yeah.
get changed. You're right. Oh, that's
yes, sir. Sorry for interrupting, by the way.
No, you're good. Welcome. Man, Finest. There's like some funny ass people from NJIT, like, but they're old. You definitely don't know them. They're from my years.
I know some old people.
You know Rex? Do you know Rex?
Okay, no.
There's so many. There's
maybe not too old.
Yeah. It's okay.
Not that.
It's all good. Yeah, no. The NJIT people used to throw like the funniest. They used to be really active actually at Rutgers because they used to be part of China Night. I don't know if you guys still know about China Night, but they used to actually run China Night like from CSO. It was crazy. Oh, it was so much fun. But yeah. Okay, sorry, backtracking. And I see Cheska joined. Do you want to introduce yourself, Cheska? Hi. You want to put your video on? Come on, guys. Don't let me talk to the void.
She's busy.
It's all good. Sophomore, major in exercise science. Cute. Okay, cool. But yeah, so like I said earlier, like this is just gonna be like completely open forum. Like if you guys have any questions or anything, like please feel free to just say whatever you want to say. Just to start off, I wanted to show you guys a video. It's from Simon Sinek. I don't know if anyone's ever watched this before, but it's like about like the golden circle and like knowing your why and whatnot. So I'm gonna share my screen. We'll stop other computers to sound share. Yeah, I can share my screen, right? Can you let me? Can you see my screen? Can you guys see my screen? Holy crap, I never use Zoom.
No.
Okay, hold on. Okay, I never use Zoom. We use Google Meets at work. Do you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, so I'm gonna share this TED Talk. It's just like 15 minutes, but this is like a talk that I love. I used to watch this a lot when I was in college, actually. And then I still watch this today because it's something that like sticks with me, like, as like, early grad, now like starting now to like get into more positions at work too, and like doing a career pivot and whatnot. So we'll just watch this real quick. It's just like a quick video. Yeah.
How do you explain when things don't go as we assume? Or better, how do you explain when others are able to achieve things that seem to defy all of the assumptions? For example, why is Apple so innovative? Year after year after year after year, they're more innovative than all their competition. And yet they're just a computer company. They're just like everyone else. They have the same access to the same talent, the same agencies, the same consultants, the same media. Then why is it that they seem to have something different? Why is it that Martin Luther King led the civil rights movement? He wasn't the only man who suffered in a pre-civil rights America, and he certainly wasn't the only great orator of the day. Why him? And why is it that the Wright brothers were able to figure out controlled powered manned flight when there were certainly other teams who were better qualified, better funded, and they didn't achieve powered manned flight? The Wright brothers beat them to it. There's something else at play here. About 3.5 years ago, I made a discovery. And this discovery profoundly changed my view on how I thought the world worked, and it even profoundly changed the way in which I operate in it. As it turns out, there's a pattern. As it turns out, all the great and inspiring leaders and organizations in the world, whether it's Apple or Martin Luther King or the Wright brothers, they all think, act, and communicate the exact same way. And it's the complete opposite to everyone else. All I did was codify it. And it's probably the world's simplest idea. I call it the golden circle. Why, how, what? This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean, what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? And why should anyone care? Well, as a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. But the inspired leaders and the inspired organizations, regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. I use Apple because they're easy to understand and everybody gets it. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh. And that's how most of us communicate. That's how most marketing is done. That's how most sales is done. And that's how most of us communicate interpersonally. We say what we do. We say how we're different or how we better, and we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that. Here's our new law firm. We have the best lawyers with the biggest clients. We have, we always perform for our clients, do business with us. Here's our new car. It gets great gas mileage. It has, leather seats. Buy our car. But it's uninspiring. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? Totally different, right? You're ready to buy a computer from me. All I did was reverse the order of the information. What it proves to us is that people don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This explains why every single person in this room is perfectly comfortable buying a computer from Apple. But we're also perfectly comfortable buying an MP3 player from Apple, or a phone from Apple, or a DVR from Apple. But as I said before, Apple's just a computer company. There's nothing that distinguishes them structurally from any of their competitors. Their competitors are all equally qualified to make all of these products. In fact, they tried. A few years ago, Gateway came out with flat screen TVs. They're eminently qualified to make flat screen TVs. They've been making flat screen monitors for years. Nobody bought one. And Dell came out with MP3 players and PDAs. And they make great quality products, and they can make perfectly well-designed products, and nobody bought one. In fact, talking about it now, we can't even imagine buying an MP3 player from Dell. Why would you buy an MP3 player from a computer company? But we do it every day. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. The goal is not to do business with everybody who needs what you have. The goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe. Here's the best part. None of what I'm telling you is my opinion. It's all grounded in the tenets of biology, not psychology, biology. If you look at a cross-section of the human brain, looking from the top down, what you see is the human brain is actually broken into three major components that correlate perfectly with the golden circle. Our newest brain, our Homo sapien brain, our neocortex, corresponds with the what level. The neocortex is responsible for all of our rational and analytical thought and language. The middle two sections make up our limbic brains, and our limbic brains are responsible for all of our feelings, like trust and loyalty. It's also responsible for all human behavior, all decision-making, and it has no capacity for language. In other words, when we communicate from the outside in, yes, people can understand vast amounts of complicated information like features and benefits and facts and figures. It just doesn't drive behavior. When we communicate from the inside out, we're talking directly to the part of the brain that controls behavior, and then we allow people to rationalize it with the tangible things we say and do. This is where gut decisions come from. You know, sometimes you can give somebody all the facts and your figures and they say, I know what all the facts and details say, but it just doesn't feel right. Why would we use that verb? It doesn't feel right, because the part of the brain that controls decision-making doesn't control language. And the best we can muster up is, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. Or sometimes you say you're leading with your heart or you're leading with your soul. Well, I hate to break it to you, those aren't other body parts controlling your behavior. It's all happening here in your limbic brain, the part of the brain that controls decision-making and not language. But if you don't know why you do what you do, and people respond to why you do what you do, then how will you ever get people to vote for you or buy something from you, or more importantly, be loyal and want to be a part of what it is that you do? Again, the goal is not just to sell people who need what you have. The goal is to sell to people who believe what you believe. The goal is not just to hire people who need a job. It's to hire people who believe what you believe. I always say that, you know, there's if you hire people just because they can do a job, they'll work for your money. But if you hire people who believe what you believe, they work for you with blood and sweat and tears. And nowhere else is there a better example of this than with the Wright brothers. Most people don't know about Samuel Pierpont Langley. And back in the early 20th century, the pursuit of powered man flight was like the .com of the day. Everybody was trying it. And Samuel Pierpont Langley had what we assume to be the recipe for success. I mean, even now you ask people, why did your product or why did your company fail? And people always give you the same permutation of the same three things. Undercapitalized, the wrong people, bad market conditions. It's always the same three things. So let's explore that. Samuel Pierpont Langley was given $50,000 by the War Department to figure out this flying machine. Money was no problem. He held a seat at Harvard and worked at the Smithsonian and was extremely well connected. He knew all the big minds of the day. He hired the best minds money could find, and the market conditions were fantastic. The New York Times followed him around everywhere, and everyone was rooting for Langley. And how come we've never heard of Samuel Pierpont Langley? A few hundred miles away in Dayton, Ohio, Orville and Wilbur Wright. They had none of what we consider to be the recipe for success. They had no money. They paid for their dream with the proceeds from their bicycle shop. Not a single person on the Wright brothers team had a college education, not even Orville or Wilbur. And the New York Times followed them around nowhere. The difference was Orville and Wilbur were driven by a cause, by a purpose, by a belief. They believed that if they could figure out this flying machine, it'll change the course of the world. Samuel Pierpont Langley was different. He wanted to be rich and he wanted to be famous. He was in pursuit of the result. He was in pursuit of the riches. And lo and behold, look what happened. The people who believed in the Wright brothers' dream worked with them with blood and sweat and tears. The others just worked for the paycheck. And they tell stories of how every time the Wright brothers went out, they would have to take 5 sets of parts because that's how many times they would crash before they came in for supper. And eventually on December 17th, 1903, the Wright brothers took flight. And no one was there to even experience it. We found out about it a few days later. And further proof that Langley was motivated by the wrong thing, the day the Wright brothers took flight, he quit. He could have said, that's an amazing discovery, guys. Now we'll improve upon your technology. But he didn't. He wasn't first. He didn't get rich. He didn't get famous. So he quit. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And if you talk about what you believe, you will attract those who believe what you believe. Well, why is it important to attract those who believe what you believe? Something called the law of diffusion of innovation. And if you don't know the law, you definitely know the terminology. The first 2.5% of our population are our innovators. The next 13.5% of our population are our early adopters. The next 34% are your early majority, your late majority, and your laggards. The only reason these people buy touch-tone phones is because you can't buy rotary phones anymore. We all sit at various places at various times on the scale, but what the law of diffusion of innovation tells us is that if you want mass market success or mass market acceptance of an idea, you cannot have it until you achieve this tipping point between 15 and 18% market penetration, and then the system tips. And I love asking businesses, what's your conversion on new business? And they love to tell you, oh, it's about 10% proudly. Well, you can trip over 10% of the customers. We all have about 10% who just get it. That's how we describe them, right? That's like that gut feeling, oh, they just get it. The problem is, how do you find the ones that just get it before you're doing business with them versus the ones who don't get it? So it's this here, this little gap that you have to close, as Jeffrey Moore calls it, crossing the chasm. Because you see, the early majority will not try something until someone else has tried it first. And these guys, the innovators and the early adopters, they're comfortable making those gut decisions. They're more comfortable making those intuitive decisions that are driven by what they believe about the world and not just what product is available. These are the people who stood online for 6 hours to buy an iPhone when they first came out, when you could have just walked into the store the next week and bought one off the shelf. These are the people who spent $40,000 on flat screen TVs when they first came out, even though the technology was substandard. And by the way, they didn't do it because the technology was so great. They did it for themselves. It's because they wanted to be first. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And what you do simply proves what you believe. In fact, people will do the things that prove what they believe. The reason that person bought the iPhone in the first 6 hours or stood in line for 6 hours was because of what they believed about the world and how they wanted everybody to see them. They were first. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So let me give you a famous example, a famous failure and a famous success of the law of diffusion of innovation. First, the famous failure. It's a commercial example. As we said before a second ago, the recipe for success is money and the right people and the right marketing conditions, right? You should have success then. Look at TiVo. From the time TiVo came out about 8 or 9 years ago to this current day, they are the single highest quality product on the market. Hands down, there is no dispute. They were extremely well funded. Market conditions were fantastic. I mean, we use TiVo as a verb. I TiVo stuff on my piece of junk Time Warner DVR all the time. But TiVo is a commercial failure. They've never made money. And when they went IPO, their stock was at about $30 or $40 and then plummeted, and it's never traded above 10. In fact, I don't think it's even traded above 6, except for a couple of little spikes. Because you see, when TiVo launched their product, they told us all what they had. They said, we have a product that pauses live TV, skips commercials, rewinds live TV, and memorizes your viewing habits without you even asking. And the cynical majority said, We don't believe you. We don't need it. We don't like it. You're scaring us. What if they had said, if you're the kind of person who likes to have total control over every aspect of your life, boy, do we have a product for you. It pauses live TV, skips commercials, memorizes your viewing habits, et cetera, et cetera. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And what you do simply serves as the proof of what you believe. Now, let me give you a successful example of the law of diffusion of innovation. In the summer of 1963, 250,000 people showed up on the Mall in Washington to hear Dr. King speak. They sent out no invitations, and there was no website to check the date. How do you do that? Well, Dr. King wasn't the only man in America who was a great orator. He wasn't the only man in America who suffered in a pre-civil rights America. In fact, some of his ideas were bad, but he had a gift. He didn't go around telling people what needed to change in America. He went around and told people what he believed. I believe, I believe, I believe, he told people. And people who believed what he believed took his cause and they made it their own, and they told people. And some of those people created structures to get the word out to even more people. And lo and behold, 250,000 people showed up on the right day, on the right time to hear him speak. How many of them showed up for him? 0. They showed up for themselves. It's what they believed about America that got them to travel on a bus for 8 hours to stand in the sun in Washington in the middle of August. It's what they believed. And it wasn't about black versus white. 25% of the audience was white. Dr. King believed that there are 2 types of laws in this world, those that are made by a higher authority and those that are made by man. And not until all the laws that are made by man are consistent with the laws that are made by the higher authority will we live in a just world. It just so happens that the civil rights movement was the perfect thing to help him bring his cause to life. We followed not for him, but for ourselves. And by the way, he gave the I have a dream speech, not the I have a plan speech. Listen to politicians now with their comprehensive 12-point plans. They're not inspiring anybody. Because there are leaders and there are those who lead. Leaders hold a position of power or authority, but those who lead inspire us. Whether they're individuals or organizations, we follow those who lead, not because we have to, but because we want to. We follow those who lead, not for them, but for ourselves. And it's those who start with why that have the ability to inspire those around them or find others who inspire them. Thank you very much.
Okay, cool. So, how do I get it? No, it's not what I want. No, back down. Okay, cool. But yeah, so the reason why I love that talk is because and even just like listening to again, there's like so many good points of it that always like rings true with me. So, like when it comes to public speaking, when it comes to leadership, when it comes to, your work, it's really important to start with your why. Like this golden circle is really at the core of everything. Because like what he said, like when you're starting with your why, you're able to have more of like a grounding and more of a better understanding of like, why is it that you're doing what you're doing and what is it, right? Versus like going the other way. And that's why they call the why part the golden circle, because it's just so important. Knowing your why is how you inspire others. And just like some parts that like I just want to take note of from like that talk is like, people who believe what you believe. Like I feel like it's tough when you're always trying to convince other people to do the things that you want to do. But that was like a big thing that he brought up too, how it wasn't necessarily like this is how you can change things, but it's like this is what I believe, and this is why I believe it. And it's always like an I statement too, if you know that also. There's always something greater that comes from saying something as like, I believe in this, I want to do this, I think we should do this, versus like saying it in any other way, because it's what you can hold to yourself like at your core, right? Another important point that I want to point out that too is like the whole thing with the Wright brothers with like Langley quitting. It's like such a huge part about like leadership too, is like, you know, being supportive of each other and like bringing people up. I thought it was like really eye-opening that like Langley quit and he didn't want to like help the Wright brothers like persevere and like to keep going. I think that's something that like I found a lot like when I was in e-board positions or in like leadership positions, is that, you know, when someone loses the election or like when someone doesn't get the position they want, they'll just like drop e-board or they'll just drop RAPS completely or whatever org you're in. And I think that's why it's also so important to know your why, because if you really care about the org, if you really care about the people, like just because you don't win, just because you don't get the position you want, doesn't mean that you'll just quit. Like, it's so crazy. There was this one year for president. It was actually Ariane's year. It was like all of our best friends were running for president. It was like Ariane, our other best friend Neil, and our other best friend Sam. And Sam ended up not getting presidency, and she ended up not leaving RAPS. She still just stayed, and she was just like a sports coordinator, you know? So I think it just goes to show how like you don't necessarily need to be in like a position of power or like the highest position of power to make change either. Like you just need to be able to support other people. And I think that's really cool that like she stayed on e-board. And I think it just goes to show that like her why and her purpose was so important to her. And then
sorry, Vanessa, there were positions that you had like both of us have applied to that we didn't.
Man.
we
like, yeah, like me and Ariane both didn't get into e-board like our sophomore years. Like we only got on e-board when we were like juniors, and we both like lost immensely. Like I remember like I know me personally, like when I ran for e-board as a freshman, and I was running for like at the time it was called ASC rep, and it was like the internal PR essentially, and I just got shat on. Like nobody nobody wanted me on like I just got shat on. It's tough. But like it didn't stop me from like, you know, wanting to continue being in RAPS or like, you know, like I still like wanted to be part of the community, and I still talked to people, and I still like introduced myself at meetings even if I wasn't on e-board, you know. I think for Ariane too, like I can't remember what you ran for your freshman year, but I think you too, everyone was like, who the fuck is this girl? Right? Like
yeah, because yeah, I applied to like a few positions. I applied to PR
for like 5 positions. That's why no one took me seriously.
yeah, the ASU because I was just let me just get any one of these positions and I'm good.
Yeah, I remember that now actually. Yeah, you ran for like 5 positions. Everyone was like, who the fuck is this? But
yeah.
But I think it goes to show like how even if you don't get the position you want or like the ideal position, I think like at the core of it all, we just really loved RAPS. We really loved the community. We loved the friends and everything that it gave us. And that was enough for us to still stay around. And I think that's a really big like why and purpose to have too. And the last thing too that I really loved from that talk was the whole like, how do you convince people who don't get it? Right. And I feel like that's the tough thing is like, you know, everyone has their like misconceptions about like different orgs and different communities. Like I know like for me in school personally, everyone was like, oh yeah, RAPS is cliquey, you know, like nobody talks to you, RAPS and whatnot. But then it's just like, how do you change those people's minds? Because like he said, like you have the 10% of people who get it, but how do you get the 10% of people who don't get it? And that really comes from like believing in it and proving why you do it, right? And the proving why you do it part is in your actions. And so we'll go into more of that. Yeah, like this why though is really at the core of like other like things that you should think about what it means to be a student leader. You know, before I did this talk, I hit up a couple of my friends who were like past presidents and like MDs with me and just asking them like the loaded question, like, what do you think makes a great leader? And the 3 big things that everyone said was vision, support, and will, right? And how like your why and your purpose is so intertwined with all these things. So first thing with vision, you know, you got to have a clear goal and clarity in your direction. And it has to be a tangible goal and, you know, something that has clear expectations and something for everyone to work towards. And it's so important for you to have your why for this because like, if you don't have your why, then you don't have a vision. You know, if you don't have purpose, you don't have a vision. And at the same time too, like what is your why? And is your why genuine, right? a lot of people, you want to make sure that you're doing this for the right reasons. Like, does it have integrity? Integrity. Does it have integrity? Is it without ego? Like, is it something that you can honestly say that is good and is good for you and for other people? And it's important to like make sure that it's genuine and has integrity so that it's something that people can invest in, because people won't invest in you or want to be part of you, like want to be part of your story or be your friend if you know they can't believe in the things that you believe in, right? That's why you really need to know your why. And this just also becomes so important when it comes down to like, issues in the organization, when you have, problems, how you're able to like walk through things. Are you willing to talk to people? Are you willing to listen to people? Are you willing to give people second chances? Like, are you proactive? Are you going to be someone that just complains the whole time? Or are you going to be proactive and actually do something about it, right? So, and this is why it's so important to have vision, because that's also what's really going to be at the core of it all when it comes to having a clear goal and clarity and direction. The next thing is support. And like, this is with, being able to support others to do what they are trying to achieve and at the same time helping them grow. Like, I think as a leader, it's not really about leading people, it's always really about serving people. Like, you're serving your team, you're serving your organization, you're providing a service for these people. And that has to be part of your why also. Like, you need to want to advocate for your team, you want to be able to be someone that invests in your team's growth, in their personal growth. And then it's being able to like have that mindset is when you're really able to like have empathy, which is like such a huge part of like being a leader too. It's just like recognizing that, we're all humans at the end of the day, that, we all got other things that we have to worry about, and just having the patience and the compassion to just understand where people are coming from and to see it from a different lens, because the thing is like, whether you're in RAPS or whether you're working in like the real world and whatnot, like, you're always going to be working with a team. And it's so important for you to like be a support system for your team members and for them to be support systems for you too. Like, there's no perfect leader. Like, you can have all the titles in the world, you can accomplish like X, Y, Z things, but there's no perfect leader. Like, every person is imperfect and they all make mistakes. But it's through really having that support for other people that you're able to, just have a better understanding. And that's really going to help you as a leader too. And the last thing is will. Like, again, like, this is why like the whole why idea is so important, because like, will is really just having the will to do whatever it takes to get shit done. Like, it's not hard. It's not hard. No. I was trying to say it's not hard. It's very hard. It's very hard to be a student leader. It's very hard to run for organizations and to handle organizations. Like, I'll be honest, like, I don't miss it. Like, I don't miss the drama. I don't miss like, the work and everything. It's really freaking hard. But like, I have no regrets. Like, I loved it. I loved everything that I did. I loved all the people that I worked with. I loved all the people that I met, all the things that I did. But like, it gets really, really hard, and you have to have the will and the emotional courage to be able to just handle difficult situations, have hard conversations, to lead by example, to like talk the talk and walk the walk, and that's when your why just becomes so important too, because there's going to be days when it's so hard, and you as a leader, you're a reflection of the organization. You're a reflection of your team. You're a reflection of the rest of the e-board, and how you react, your attitude, the way you carry yourself, it's going to rub off on other people. It can trickle down. And so if you're going to be someone who's in a leadership position, you need to make sure that like you're putting your best self out there so that you can set the example. And in difficult situations, what's going to hold you together and keep you grounded is your why. Like, why are you doing this in the first place? Why do you even want to be part of RAPS e-board? Why do you even want to be in student leadership, and just hold on to that. And that's what's going to help you, get through hard times. So yeah, so I just wanted to ask you guys, what is your why? If anyone wants to say what their why is, I'll take like one or two people, anyone. But yeah, it can be whatever. It can be school related, it can be like work related, RAPS related, life related, whatever. Come on, guys. or it's okay to have just like, what is your why right now, right? Even if you don't know what your why is, like, what's your why right now? Or why do you want to run for e-board? We could just start there too. Why do you want to run for e-board?
I could share my why.
Everyone.
Yeah, I'll just share. My why is because this year's been a rough year for everyone on eBoard, you know, been a rough year for everyone in general. And I really want to help transition eBoard and RAPS and like bring RAPS back to how it was when we were in person, you know, bring back the energy and bring back that, you know, the excitement for being a part of it and bring back that community feel because we've really been missing that this year. So I really want to help transition RAPS back into that, like, you know,
Okay.
back to where we were and to hopefully improve it as well.
Okay. So why? Why do you want to bring this excitement back? Why do you want to bring things back to where it was? Why?
Because I made some friends in the 1 year and some relationships and some like connections that I wouldn't pass up. Like these are like my closest friends. I've got so much out of RAPS and like so much in the 1.5 semester that I've been there, you know. And I really want other kids and like new kids to experience that as well.
Word. Okay. Cool. Okay. Next, anyone? Why you want to run for eBoard?
I
Come on.
guess for me as a freshman,
Mhm.
before I had like a big and before I got into the UR program, I didn't like have anyone in RAPS, and I still like from the upperclassmen who weren't in RAPS, like I heard a lot of like the clicky like what is like the rumors about like RAPS being really clicky. So I didn't really see myself having a place in RAPS. But once I got my big Hannah, love her, she's not here. And like once I got into the UR program and made like friends through there, I found my place in RAPS. And like we like to call ourselves a familia, but I can't like see that if people who want to be a part of it don't find their place. And like through eBoard, I really want to like find ways for those who want to be in RAPS but can't find their place now to find a place um through like committee work or just like through meetings and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. So why is it so important for you that people have a place in the organization?
I guess for me, it's just like as freshmen, a lot of us saw like felt like we couldn't like get a place now since it was all virtual, and a lot of us felt left out. And like outside of RAPS, it was hard enough to make friends through like classes virtually. So a lot of us feel like we lost our head start in that. And I really would just I don't feel like, not in like a sense of pity, but it's just I feel for that like feeling like you don't have friends and like you feel like you can't like get into something because you don't have friends.
Word. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, no, that's real. Like I think that's like such an important thing to like hold near and dear to you as you're like on like if you get on eBoard or like whatever, you know, that whole like sense of belonging, like that's a huge part of RAPS too. So kudos to that. Hold on to that for sure. Anyone else? One more person? Come on.
Yeah, so the reason that I really want to run for RAPS eBoard was because RAPS was like probably the first time I was actually able to like get in touch with my culture, especially on like the Filipino side. And there are a lot of people who I could actually like relate to. So I just want to keep on giving back to that, and hopefully just facilitate just more people finding their own identity through RAPS.
Word. Okay, so why is culture and identity so important to you?
I think that just comes because I grew up in a predominantly like white neighborhood or like white town, where I was like the only Filipino at my high school. So it really like struck with me that I was like different from everyone else, and I didn't really like know how to like get in touch with that other side of me. And it wasn't until I joined RAPS where I was able to finally like accept who I was and stuff like that.
Yeah, word. That's so important. Like that whole community too, like a lot of people like who come to RAPS, like a lot of them like they've never even like had more than like 2 or 3 other Filipino friends, you know? Or like they come from places where like I was only Filipino in my high school, in my grade in my high school, you know? So some people are just like missing that community and that togetherness. So yeah, definitely like keep that, you know, in mind too when like you're running for these positions that you want to bring people together who've gone through similar experiences as you, yeah. Cool. Okay, so yeah, so I wanted to go over this whole process of knowing your why, because it's so important to you when it comes to public speaking, because you become a better public speaker the more you tell people your story. The more you tell people your why, the more you tell people about who you are as a person, the better you get at talking. It really just is a lot of practice, and it's a lot of just constantly repeating your story to multiple people. So I just wanted to include some quick tips in this workshop. Every speech comes with an introduction and closing. Introductions wise, you just want to make sure you're gaining your audience attention, signal your thesis, show your audience what's in it for them, establish credibility, and preview your main points. And then the way you can do this is telling a story or anecdote, striking, giving something like an offer or a provocative statement, building suspense, let listeners know you're one of them, use humor, ask a rhetorical question. These are all ways that you can do a really nice introduction. And then the second most important part of your speech is always your conclusion. And your conclusion, you make sure you have a nice transition, summarize all your main points, finish with a memorable clincher. You could tie your clincher into your introduction, and with a striking sentence or phrase, highlight your thesis, conclude with an emotional message, end with a story or an anecdote. A lot of people like to end with a personal experience or something like that. But you always want to, God damn, I don't know where this shit. You always want to end with something that's memorable, right? Because people always remember the beginning and the end. That's always what it is. And then when you're making your speech, you got to outline your speech. There's two stages. There's a working outline and a speaking outline. Your working outline is your thorough outline that you use to craft your speech. And you can completely write out your working outline. You can just sit down and write exactly what you think you're going to say. And from there, you can outline the body of your speech, write all your main points, support materials, highlight things. And you can also use this opportunity to add other quotes, evidence, practice your transitions, outlining all of the points that you want to make. And then from there, you have your speaking outline, and your speaking outline, this is more the informal outline. This is more so just notes and main points, because you're not going to be ideally, you don't want to be giving your speech off of a piece of paper that has your whole entire speech on there. I've done that. It was a wreck. It was a hot mess. It was my speech that I gave as president for my first GIM. It's a hot mess. Don't do it. Just create, note cards that just have quick points and phrases that you want to go over that are brief. And again, you just want to make sure that in this speaking outline that you have, you still have all of your main points, sub points, evidence. If there's any difficult words or key words you want to remember, add that to your note cards. Transitions, and then delivery notes. And delivery notes are just you could constantly put on your thing, make sure you make eye contact at this point, look around the room, slow down, things like that. And so that's just pretty much the basic parts of public speaking. But at the end of the day, it really is just practice. You got to film yourself, film yourself speaking, get used to hearing your voice, practice talking to other people, have people practice interview questions with you. And because I said, the more you're able to talk about yourself, the more you're able to share your story, the better public speaker you're going to be, and everything that we were going over before with your whys and having a vision, support and will, that's all things you can also bring into your speech for, RAPS e-board or for other interviews that you have, because it's those things are going to be at the core of all of, your question and answer portions. People are going to want to ask you questions about why do you want to do this? Do you really want this? Or how would you change this? Why are you going to do this? And so just really knowing your why and having all those things sprinkled in, it's also going to be really great for your speeches too. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. I want to go into like just question and answer next. Just because like I said, like I want you guys to be able to use me as a resource or like as a support system in any way. So if like you have any questions, anything and everything, this is the time now. And I also want to stress too that like, as you can see, like Ariane is in this like workshop randomly, but like there's a lot of alumni out here who genuinely care about RAPS and have a connection still with RAPS just because of everything that this community has given us and how much it helped us grow. And it was a huge part of our lives. And so I want you guys to know that out there's like a ton of alumni who are willing to also help you guys too. So you can also use me in a resource in that way too. Like if there's anyone that you want me to reach out to for you guys, like you can feel free to look at my LinkedIn profile and like go through my connections. Or if you are looking for someone who's in like a similar major as you, trying to get internships or even in like e-board positions that you're trying to run for too, like you can also reach out to me for that and I'll connect you with the right people. But yeah, I just want you guys to know that there's like a huge support system of like alumni who are out here too to like have your guys' backs and to help you guys throughout like your time in this like collegiate community. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks guys. So yeah, so Q&A, any questions, like anything and everything? Anything?
I have a question.
What's up?
How important is the tone of your voice and like inflection of your voice when giving the speech? Because I know when you type things down, you know, where we're told when we're in like high school and like middle school, like there are like a lot of differences between actually saying something and then writing it down, you know.
Mhm.
How important is that distinction, you know?
Mhm.
And like where should we like differ our tone and like inflection, like depending on like different parts of the speech?
Yeah, like definitely like change your tone up when you're really trying to hit the important parts of your speech. But I think also like throughout your speech, you know, you just need to also come out it with like a tone that's like very pleasant. I don't know what is a better word than that, but like pleasant. Like be mindful of your speed, of how fast you're talking. Like I talk really fast sometimes. And also being aware of like your ums, saying your likes, you know, like instead of saying an or a like, try to pause. Also, you know, when you're really trying to emphasize something, you can say it slowly and it get louder. You know, that's also a way to like really like use your inflections. But yeah, like I said, it's really just practice and really practicing with other people too, because when you talk to people and you practice with people, you'll see what people like to hear, you know, like you'll see it in like their face, like they'll start nodding like, oh yeah, yeah. And that's like a mental note for you, like, okay, that's good. I need to start doing that more, you know? But yeah, I saw on the chat, I'm just reading through the chat real quick. My wife's made me feel home in Rutgers and I wanted to things personals. Oh, Vanna, that's cute. Which positions did you guys hold and which was your favorite? Yes, like I said before, I was a RCDT Cord secretary, president, and then for D3, I was a D3 secretary, and then I was a national director. I don't know. I think like all the positions were like different in different ways. Like I would say like in RAPS wise, like RCDT was one of my favorites because it's through being like the RCDT cord or like the RACS cord that you're really able to like build relationships with people, because like you'll see everyone in RAPS like once a week already, right? But you see like the RCDT people and the RAGS people, like because you guys have your own separate meetings and like RDT, you have your own separate practices, like maybe you'll see them like 2 or 3 times a week. So that was my favorite because like we really built a family with RCDT, and that's what got me in the RAPS too, was like the RCDT coordinators when I was a freshman were like really cool. And then I don't know, secretary was okay, and then presidency was like that shit was just stressful, but it was great. There were great moments. There were great moments, but like it really takes it really like nah, man, secretary's cool. Secretary's cool. There's cool. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You learn a lot if you're trying to be secretary. If you're trying to like get into president position or vice president, like secretary and treasurer are like really good because you get experience, right? Like Ariane was secretary too. Like she was also secretary, you know. And we were both we went from secretary to president also. But yeah, and then like D3 secretary was really cool because, you know, that was what really got me connected to the D3 community. Like, it's so awesome that RAPS is super active now in D3, because I'll tell you, when I was a freshman, RAPS was not active in D3. Like, we didn't go to any events. We had a horrible reputation. Like, we wouldn't go to any events. Like, we would participate in them, but nobody would show up. Like, it would be Miss PI and nobody would show up, or like be Mr. PI, nobody would show up. And we just had a horrible reputation. Everyone used to make fun of us. So like being on D3 secretary was really cool because I really wanted to be able to like bring in like the RAPS community like back into like D3. And then being national director is cool because it really teaches you how like an organization is run. Like, it's pretty much a nonprofit organization. So you gotta like, I honestly think before 2 years ago, they said the same thing, and RAPS wasn't actually there on the, yeah, man. Yeah, that stuff happens sometimes, but you gotta just like push people to like go to D3 events. Yeah, what else? Yeah, and then being national director is cool. Like I said, it's a different like position, but it's just on like a larger scale. Like, you're dealing with like the whole East Coast. But yeah, is Arian still on? No?
Yes, I'm still on.
Oh no, Arian, what was your favorite position?
So I was not in as many positions as Vanessa. So for those, I think some of you guys may have joined late on the call, that my name is Ariane. I was at Rutgers from 2009 to 2013. So, oh my God, almost a decade since graduation, y'all. Feeling it. But what was it? So during that time, I was secretary my junior year. I was also president. So I actually had a co-president my year. My co-president was named Neil Lopez. He's from Jersey City. And he was awesome. And so I acted as the external president. During this time, I was actually also in Kappa Phi Lambda too. So not RAPS, and then also active in Asian American Cultural Center. So that was kind of like its own big throwback, right?
Yeah, you're an ACC intern if they still have that stuff.
Yeah, I was a junior intern.
Yeah, you also had a position though in KPL too, though. Right?
Yeah, cultural chairs.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then so there was just quite a few positions, and then we also like did fine workshops together, if you remember that. So we went through a bit, but when it comes to my favorite position, so I think what Vanessa had mentioned is that each position was a little bit different, right? So I feel like when it came to secretary, it's exactly as she mentioned, not like meh, but it was like a big learning opportunity. It was a big learning opportunity, right? And I think that kind of exposure to be able to listen in and like even just, you know, one of the big components is being able to listen to everybody and hear their positions and like, you know, hear where they stand, like go through you guys' meetings. And it was an opportunity for me to like absorb everything, which I really appreciated, right? I think, you know, between the two, like, you know, the presidency was definitely like its own kind of learning opportunity. And I think what I most appreciated about it is just, I think it was an ability to bring something to life with the community you love. And I think that is something that really inspired me. It wasn't just with an e-board that like inspired me, but also like an overarching community. And I think when you're in the position to be able to help mold that, you know, mold it together, I really appreciated that. So that's why it was one of the reasons why I loved it.
Word. Any other questions? I thought there's 4 RAPS candidates running for D3 e-board. That's great. That's awesome. But yeah. Any other questions?
I actually have one. So I struggle a lot with stuttering. So do you have any tips on like how to feel less nervous when you're like speaking in front of like a crowd?
I don't think you guys can tell, but like sometimes when I talk, I'll like say my words in like a weird way. Like, what was the word that I messed up on? Like, Arian, were you paying attention what word that was? Like, when I'm really in the moment, like integrity. I think I said it like integrity. I said like integrity, like a GWITY. I had like really bad like speech problems when I was younger. And so I definitely understand that. And it still comes out. Like that's the thing, like it's inevitable. Like, you know, your stuttering or like your nervousness is just it's an inevitable thing that will happen like when you're doing public speaking sometimes. But I think it really helps to just like slow down. And I always like hold on to something sometimes, like literally just came out just said I said something instead of something. Like but yeah, I just like hold on to like an item or like keep your hands behind your back and like you can like be so like squeezing your palms. Like a lot of people too, they like to do like the Superman pose like right before they speak. It's like you literally there's a TED talk on this also. I'll find it. But like
How
you
is
literally
this?
just do like the Superwoman pose and you hold it for like 10 minutes and like you put your like hands on your sides and you look up and you're just like or you do like hands in the air and you do this for 10 minutes before you talk, kind of just like to bring like good energy or to like put yourself in like a powerful like stance. And I think that really helps like give you the confidence sometimes to just like focus in and hone in on what you want to talk about. But like I said too, it's really just practice and getting more comfortable, you know, and like you're still young, you know, you're still a freshman, like it's okay, you know, like you'll get like the more you talk to people and the more you're gonna have to like be in these positions where you're gonna have to be talking more, you'll be able to practice, you know, and like as you get like internships or like do other community work, like you'll be able to like you'll have to like put yourself out there more and like have more of these interviews and it's through that whole process that you get better, you know, like I said, like I wasn't really a good public speaker still in college. Like I said, I had like my whole entire like speech written out when I was president and it was like a hot mess, you know, but it really is just through constantly practicing, constantly working with people. It's just how you get better. But yeah, but don't give up. You got this. Also, I don't know if he's still a teacher, but like Mr. Goldberg was like a really, really good public speaking teacher. I don't know if he's still a public speaking teacher at Rutgers, but like Mr. like Goldberg, what's his last name? He was really cool. He helped me a lot. Yeah. Um, any other questions? Like anything and everything. This is your time.
I actually had another question, and this could be applied to both you and Ariane. But how do you assert yourselves in a situation that calls for you to put your foot down?
Mhm. I don't know. Erin, you want to go first? I feel like you're better at this.
And let me just make sure I'm saying your name right. Was it Cliz?
Oh yeah.
Was there like a specific kind of like scenario that you had in mind? I just want to make sure that like, you know, unpacking it a bit. And if you don't feel comfortable, that's okay too. We could work off of that.
Oh no, it's okay. So as president, were there any times where like during a meeting, like you kind of had to be like, oh guys, let's pack it in, like let's focus on this subject. Like e-board meetings, GBM, like even outside of RAPS.
Yeah. Dude, when there's a room full of dozens and dozens of college students, there is definitely like it's definitely, you know, it's definitely going to call for that kind of moment. And like it is not easy. It can be intimidating, but I feel like, you know, you bring up a really good point because that is one of those things that's not easy to do. Putting your foot down. I feel like if I had to consider like tips, one is to possibly read the room, right? Like, you know, what's the vibe? Are people like vibing and enjoying it? Are you still able to like conduct the meeting in a way that is productive? Is it in a way that is interrupting the meeting, right? Like kind of ask yourself these questions of like, how does it affect me? How does it affect the other student body members? How does it affect the integrity of the meeting itself, right? If it becomes disrespectful to the people leading the meeting, right? So I feel like, you know, one again is kind of like reading the room, actually seeing whether it's worth putting your foot down. If it means putting your foot down, then perhaps it's about raising it with the president or raising it with, you know, the person that if you are the one leading the meeting, right? You know, doing it in a way that is just, I don't know, just, it's weird. Like you don't want to rub people the wrong way, right? Like, and there's an easy way to kind of do that and turn people off, but there's another way to like realize that you just owe respect to the meeting, right? And to the people conducting it. So I feel like those are the things that come top of mind. I think another thing too is like, maybe it's the way that you set up the meeting, right? Like maybe it's the way that you introduce it. Like if it's a serious topic that's going to be going on, like, hey guys, today we're talking about, you know, like just this, like perhaps it's about Stop Asian Hate. You know, we want to hold a serious discussion. Like we really want your honest thoughts and opinions. So like, let's use this floor to do that, right? And that sets up the tone for the entire meeting. So perhaps it's like different kind of cues, reading the room, and then also like, you know, getting an idea and like having the emotional courage to put your foot down. So those are what come to mind for me.
Yeah, like same, literally what Ariane said, like really take a step back to analyze like how serious is the situation or like what's happening, because it's literally what she said, like you don't want to turn people off. Like you don't like you guys are all college students, you guys are all there to have fun and have a good time, and like you don't want to necessarily be like parenting people either, you know. But like again, it's like really reading the room. Like if people are having a good time, if there's no schedule or if the schedule can be like switched, like, and you can see people are like interacting with each other, then like it's fine to like be flexible and like to let things happen. And then when you do need to command the room, it's like, how do you set things up? You know, like maybe it's about like, you can start like slowly bringing people to the middle, you know, have like people spread out and like start calming people down, you know, like there's a way to go about things and just like yelling on a mic and getting everyone to pay attention, right? Also just like having microphones too. I think like for one GIM, we were doing a game and we didn't all have microphones and it was a mess. Like, you know, so like having like things set up properly so that you guys have the ability and the tools ready to like command the room as needed, but to do it in like a thoughtful way, because you don't want to also come in and be like, you know, like you guys are here to like run shit either, you know, like that's just going to turn people off too. And that just adds also to like when people feel like there's like a certain persona of like, you know, the organization or RAPS or whatever, you know. Like you never want to make it seem as if like you're on a higher level than everyone else. Like you guys are all at the same level. You guys are all college students. You guys are all here for the same reasons. And
yeah, not any better, not any worse. And like sometimes it really, like I think something that sticks with me is like sometimes it just takes that one person to like make you feel welcome into the org, you know. And you could be that person.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I'll ask another one. What do you guys, if you guys were in like current eBoard situation with like a pandemic or like something like of this scale, you know, how would you guys have approached this year? Would you guys have any recommendations approaching like the following years where this pandemic is still gonna play a big role in how we approach our positions on eBoard if we make it on? Do you guys have any suggestions, any like ideas or whatnot, or how would you guys have approached this if you guys were currently on eBoard?
Yeah, I don't know, honestly. If I was president, I would have been like, RAPS is canceled this year. I'll see you next year. Honestly, I don't know. I really don't know. Like, I really don't know. Like, you guys have done so much. You guys have really been able to do things that we never thought could ever be online. So I think, you know, don't be too hard on yourselves. Like you guys really put in a lot of work this year. And I think you guys are doing your best, you know, like I think when it comes down to it, the most success of the organization is just building relationships. So I think even if things are online or like you're not getting your in-person events and whatnot, like just continue to try to build relationships with like your members, with the people around you as much as possible in like any way that you can. Because like that's really what keeps people around. And that's also what like that's what you hold on to like after college is really the relationships, you know, like of course like we were all part of RAPS because like we all had like a common, you know, relationship. Like we were all either Filipino or we had a lot of Filipino friends, or you know, we wanted, or like we were like, you were like half or you had some relation or connection to the Filipino community, and that's why you wanted to join RAPS. But then on top of that though, it's really just like it was the friendships, you know, at the end of the day it was the friendships. Like we don't really like, yeah, like we learned a lot in our leadership positions, and there was a lot that we were able to take from that into like our workplaces. But at the end of the day, like what kept us coming every week, and what even like today, why we still talk about RAPS as alumni, is just because all the people that was in our lives in college and RAPS are still in our lives now, and they're still our best friends now. They're like our freaking boyfriends and girlfriends. They're like our best friends, and like that's the only reason why like it's still so important to us. And I think as long as you really focus on that relationship part of RAPS, that's really the most important thing. Like Arian said, like be the person in the room who talks to the one person who's not talking to anyone. Like be the person who approaches the one person who is sitting by themselves. Because that's all it really takes. It just takes that one step to just create that relationship sometimes. Arian, anything?
Dude, you hit me in the feels with that one. No, it's so true. Though. So true. It's so true. And like I feel like just working off what you said, like, well, going back to Ruan's question, right, is that what would I agree. I would have canceled this year. Like, oh, just a little too much, y'all. So, but with that said, like seriously, like I commend you guys so much. And like I know that I wouldn't be alone. There's so many people who would, for you guys to kind of like carry that torch and like keep RAPS like in this continuation, whether you've been a member or whether you've been on e-board, you know. And I feel like thinking into this, and let me just actually finish up. When Vanessa told me that you guys were holding an online battle, I was like, wow, like effing kudos to that. Like seriously. And hearing that there were like 700 to 800 like attendees, it speaks to how much you know, this community brings like people together, right? So kudos to that for you guys making that happen. Seriously. If I were to consider, if I were still on Newport and I had to consider next year, I feel like it's exactly as like Vanessa mentioned. I feel like a word that keeps popping to my mind is safe space. And, you know, when there is just so much, for lack of better words, shit happening in this world, you know, having a safe space that you know that you could turn to, like when, like for us, our meetings were every Wednesday. And every Wednesday was the day that I look forward to being with my RAF fam.
Everyone looks forward to Wednesdays. Everyone.
Yeah. And it's just, you know, and it's like, admittedly, truthfully, it's not the same, you know, it there are challenges when it's not in person, right? So definitely have to recognize that. However, at the same time, the heart and message here of having that safe space and having that community available to you and being able to be in a position to foster and create that community, that's powerful. And so even if it's like a small meeting of like, you know, like less than a dozen people, or if it's a huge meeting where a lot of people have attended, even if it makes a difference to that one person who has attended, like that within itself is impactful enough, right? You just making that difference to that one person. And it goes like to Vanessa's point, like, you know, these people are still our friends. And like that definitely has been the greatest blessing out of it, that like at the end of the day, you know, the kind of community and like good vibes that you get to share together is what carries it on, right? And so building communities, definitely like a huge focal point, I would say, into the year.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Yep. I think maybe we have time for one more question. Anyone has any last questions or anything? Anything at all?
I guess I could take it. I mean, I've been asking a lot of questions.
It's fine. What's up?
How did you balance e-board work with like other clubs and like schoolwork? Because I know Ariane, you said you were part of the Kappas.
Yeah, man. And she also had like an internship too. It was kind of crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to speak to how you're able to do it all?
um so just to give a rundown of like what my weekly schedule looked like, what was I gonna say? So I don't know if I explained this, but I major in communications with a minor in digital communications. My background right now as a professional is in PR, brand marketing, and like digital marketing as a whole, right? And I work for the Children's Place. So leading up to it within my college career, I had been active in RAPS, Kappas, and like doing internships. And it's critical because like just, for the field. How it came to actually balancing it was not easy, Quiz. Like it was not at all. um, I think, sorry, I just want to like answer your question thoughtfully, right? Not give a half-assed answer just because like it's top of mind, right? Things that came to mind was, one, I don't know if you guys still share this sentiment or share this phase, but like, you're not majoring in RAPS, guys. You may be like, you may be thrilled and like excited to like go into like, each day because of the RAPS community or whatever community you have. Good. Maybe not good. But we used to, whatever. It didn't stop majoring in RAPS. We used to have like RAPS after hours where we would literally just go out and like, what shit would we do, Vanessa? We would go to that 24-hour Starbucks and stay up till like 5.
Literally to like the birds fucking chirping, man. It was the worst. I don't recommend it to anyone. Like
no, wouldn't recommend it. But like regardless, so I say that, but I feel like it is about remembering, why you guys are here in the first place. If you guys aren't students, like, or, you technically can, but like, if you aren't here, like as a student, like you wouldn't have been able to participate in RAPS technically, right?
Mhm.
And it's also what allows you to be able to participate technically. So like, one, it's remembering what your priorities are. And so like there may be this short-term thrill of like, being able to build this community, whatever have you. However, at the end of the day, like you guys are also spending money. I don't know what you guys' like situation is when it comes to college, but like it is not a small amount of money. College is like it's tough, right? So you're spending money, you have like we're working towards careers at the end of the day and like all that. So that's its own kind of like anxiety, right? I think another way of balancing it out is setting boundaries for yourself too, right? Like I feel like when we found our crew, Vanessa, it took like a year for us to figure out how we actually study well together. Cause like, but then we figure out like what kind of study habits work for us, what kind of like environment works best for us. So maybe it's about learning like how you operate best to make sure it's Ruan. So it's about knowing yourself and like thinking about what works best for you too. And yeah, I feel like that was what was critical for me, and finding a damn good planner, like always appreciated. So yeah.
Yeah. I think definitely like literally what Ariane said, like you're not majoring in RAPS. That's like a huge thing. It's like when you're in this organization, it's so easy to just really pour like your heart and soul into all this and to really make this your everything. And I think as leaders like of like RAPS, we've all been in this situation where like we chose to do RAPS work over schoolwork sometimes, but it really is that like, and like people used to tell me this all the time too when I was like on e-board, and I used to get so angry about it back in the day, but people used to always be like, Vanessa is just a club. And like past presidents would always tell me that too, because I'd be venting to like some old presidents like TK or Chung or Blaze, and they would just come back to me like, Vanessa is just a club. Like all of the problems and all the things that you might be facing in RAPS, it's temporary, you know, like it's not really going to have a lasting effect, because whatever happens in RAPS, like RAPS will still survive, you know, like we saw that happen this year. We saw, and it will continue, you know, like it will just continue pushing on. There's always going to be people who are going to want this community to continue and to keep moving. And so don't feel like if you get on e-board that you have all this pressure to like be the perfect leader and to put your, you know, your organization first, because you don't, you know, like there's no perfect leader. Everyone needs help. And like, so like what I said, like literally, so it's the whole idea of, you know, you're not majoring in RAPS, it's just a club. It's, you know, it will keep moving forward. Like, yes, you're going to be able to create impact, but then two, also like you guys are a team at the end of the day. Like you on e-board is a team, and you're there to support each other, to be each other's strengths, you know, if other people have weakness, you know, to be able to step in for people, to be understanding and patient, to communicate to each other too. Like if someone's struggling or someone can't handle their work, communicate with each other that you can't do the work so that someone else can pick it up, you know, and just be honest with each other. Like it's all like you guys are all so young still, and you guys are still growing as people and as leaders. And this is really your opportunity now to just, you know, just focus on that growth. And it's going to really come down to like, again, like the whole balancing thing too is really part of growth also, because Ariane was really able to pull it off, honestly. Like she still graduated on time and everything. Like, you know, and like I'll say like as someone who was like a super senior, and like I was president my super senior year too though, like so things were a little different. But like, you know, and there's nothing wrong with being a super senior. Like there's nothing wrong with like having to take more time also. Like even if you get to like 6 years too, like it's totally fine. Do what you got to do. But like I definitely, like as someone who didn't balance things well, I definitely could have balanced things a lot better. You know, like I should have put my studies like on more of an equal level with RAPS and with all of the other student organizations that I was a part of, you know, and I should have set those boundaries, and I also should have communicated more to people. You know, I think that's tough too, is like when you're a young leader, you don't communicate enough about like how you're feeling or what's impacting you, and nobody knows what's going on in your life but you. So if you're going through some struggle, if there's something that you can't handle, you got to communicate it to your team so they can come in and support you, so you don't feel like you have that pressure on yourself, you know. Yeah, I think that's really it though. Anything else? Are we good? No?
Maybe I think that's it.
Okay.
Unless you have anything else you want to share, Vanessa.
No, I think that's it. You know, like, I don't know, Erin, you got any last encouraging words for people running for e-board?
um I think it's kind of like just covered on like what we were saying, is that like, you know, what Vanessa had mentioned throughout this entire meeting on like understanding your why, really taking that time to like, you know, really think about that, especially coming off of that, this unprecedented, and I feel like it's overused, but unprecedented year. I feel like by you guys even attending this meeting speaks to how well of a leader that you guys do have a potential of becoming, right? So kudos to you guys for joining in this meeting, like, you know, participating as you have, and like, you know, seriously, good luck. You guys do have so many resources available to you. Like you guys aren't in it alone, right? So good luck, and we're excited for you guys.
Yeah, like what Ariane said, like we're really here to support you guys. So literally everything and anything that you guys need, like please feel free to reach out to us. I'm gonna drop my LinkedIn profile real quick. Ariane, if you want to drop yours also, or if you can't, I'll just drop yours for you. I'll do it for you. You're on your.
Do you mind?
Yeah, you can't do it. But yeah, you guys can reach out to us on LinkedIn. We're pretty active on LinkedIn. I'm sure you could probably find us on social media. Like Ariane's more on social media. I'm really only on Facebook, honestly. And also like Ruan has ways to hit us up too. So feel free to hit us up for anything, literally. Like you're part of this community, and there's so many people out here who are here to support you guys. So, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, just like give a big thank you to them. Like they had so much to share. Like the fact that alumni come back and they're willing to share their experiences and willing to take time out of their weekend just to talk to us is such a great thing, you know. They're here to help us. They care about the organization. They have so many friends and so many memories. And I really hope like this really helped you guys in whatever leadership position or whatever public speaking thing you have to do in the future. You know, all of these tips that they shared can be transmitted to interviews, can be transmitted to your actual job, you know, to your respective organizations, to whatever you're part of. So just be sure to take what you learned from this and like put it to good use, you know, in whatever position you might plan on running for and whatever you might plan to do in the future. So thank you guys so much for coming. I hope you guys learned a lot. I'll be sure to share their contact information. Be sure to connect with them. They're great resources. They know a lot. They have great stories. Like they're great people. So like, be sure to hit them up, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
it
That's the
is.
end of our meeting, guys. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Have a good Saturday,
Bye.
everyone.
Have a good weekend, guys.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you. You guys were really helpful.
Peace, Jason.